2026, Year of the Villain. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Her Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Mel, and it is good to be back. Full disclosure, I'm looking to rebrand and rename the podcast. And of course, I haven't landed on something that is as visceral and meaningful as Her Advantage. So I'm letting a couple of names marinate in the background. If you have any suggestions, I would so be open to hearing them. But I thought to myself, I have this really great concept that I want to bring to you, and I can't sit on it while I think about renaming the podcast. So here we are. Please let me introduce to you to 2026 Year of the Villain. I have my notes. I have the article in front of me. If you've read the Substack article, this is just my explanation of it and talking my way through it. If you are more of a reader, please, I'll pop the link in my description and you can follow on through. But basically the next couple of episodes that I have planned for you are some, I'm going to call them foundational concepts that are really hopefully going to set you up for the next 12 months. They have been instrumental in me seeing this new year rather than another set of 12 months, but in a more cyclic and life fashion. So we're not just looking at the 12 months ahead. How do we want to set up our life? Who do we want to be? How do we want to show up? And when things start happening to us and life starts happening to us, just having a little bit more understanding as to maybe why that's happening. Now, I'm not going to be going into Mercury is in retrograde, so that's why the mailman lost your parcel or things like that. This is going to be practical, tangible life things, but it's also for you to practice discernment and to be able to apply these principles to your own life. And if you are a little bit confused, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message, and let's chat a little further. So let me introduce to you to 2026 Year of the Villain and where that entire concept comes from. As you can see, I've got this like almost semi-evil grin on my face because I'm sure that as you're listening to this, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, Mel? What is 2026 Year of the Villain and why do I want to be the villain? If you think about your favorite Disney movie, your favorite thriller, or your favorite, I don't know, if you're a reader or whatever, if you're a book talk girly, if you think about your favorite villain, why would you want to be like them, right? I probably first heard this concept about 5 years ago. About 5 years ago, I had a really big life event happen, and I remember someone saying to me, Mel, you just have to be the villain in someone's life, in someone's story at some point. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why? Like, I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't won the thing that the person accusing me of isn't true. I don't understand how I've woken up to this thing having happened. Why do I have to be the villain? And it's taken me a good 5 years of more events, more punches to the gut and the stomach and life's hurdles and twist and turn to really grasp who the villain is and why we want to embody more of this villain energy. I also witnessed at the end of last year someone who, one, I highly respect and is highly respected in a certain community. I watched the community paint them as a villain. And I was like, wow, it's super interesting. Again, this person is an ambassador for what they do. This person is so loyal and giving and kind, and still this community turned on them. And this is where that was almost the final piece of the puzzle to really be able to go, you know what? There really is something in this. And I really hope that there's something that you can take away. So without further ado, let's walk through the Year of the Villain and its 5 commandments. So where did this come from? The concept of the Year of the Villain is for those of us who have ever been stuck in a situation where you feel like you're being stretched or challenged, and you're getting this feedback around you that, you've done something to wrong someone, you're wanting to do something, but you're being accused of being selfish, you are maybe wanting to do something, but you don't want to hurt someone, or you don't want to disappoint someone, or that basically, even though this thing that you want to do is it's so right to you, there is no way out without hurting anyone. So you just sort of shut down. There is a difference. There is a huge, huge, huge difference between a villain and a dickhead. And I will also go through and explain that. The difference between being a villain and a dickhead. I had this conversation with someone the other day. Somebody asked them for something and they were like, no, fuck them. I'm not going to give that to them. If they wanted that, they should have fucking come to me and asked me, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, hang on a minute. What's the goal of what we're doing here? Is it worth you putting that energy into them? And if you actively try and stop them from doing this thing, do you see the domino effect of what's going to happen there? So you consciously know that you're withholding information or, with malice intent. So the year of the villain isn't going in with malice intent. That's the difference between being a villain and a dickhead. And we are not bringing dickhead energy into 2026. We are bringing villain energy into 2026. So, commandment number 1. If you are driving, don't write this down. They're on my Instagram. You can see it in the show notes. But if you're walking, screenshot it, pop it in your notes. These are things that I want you to come back to. And maybe even as I'm writing them down, you can put your own little example or your own little mantra in to the commandments that I'm about to tell you. So, commandment number 1 is you cannot control how others see or receive you. You cannot control how others see or receive you. This is, when I say this, the thing that comes to mind, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme on Instagram that's like, oh, you're a people pleaser? Name 5 people that are happy with you. And you're like, oh, fuck. This is one of those things where if you ever gone out of your way to help someone, do something for something, plan someone, and they have just turned around and gone, thanks, or why did you do that? I know that when I was a child, one of the things, Mum, I love you if you're listening to this, my parent, I love them dearly. I have a great relationship with them. Please don't take the example that I'm about to give you and turn it into anything bad. But I know that as a child, I was constantly told, you're so ungrateful, you're so, you don't see the sacrifices that we make to you, all of the things. And it was like, well, no, I'm 9 years old, 10 years old. I don't know what the big picture is here. So you're going out of your way for someone and it's being met with uncomfortable responses, but you're sitting there like, what did I do in this? I don't understand what's happening. Have you ever sent a message to someone to congratulate them on something or share something with them and it's been received the wrong way? That's another example of I just tried to say the right thing and I don't know how I upset you. I'm sorry. You cannot control how other people see you. Have you ever cut someone? Oh, there's so many examples. There's so many juicy examples. Cut someone off in traffic and they're sticking their arms out the window fuck you. And you're like, holy shit, you just came out of nowhere. It wasn't my intention to make you have a bad day or, I didn't wake up this morning going, oh my God, I'm going to piss as many people off on the road as possible. You cannot control how other people see you. So if you are being met with constant challenge, with constant criticism, with constant, you need to do better, you need to do this thing, and you know that you've showed up in your full capacity, maybe you need to start practicing this, that this person is not trying to see you in the way that they want to see. Well, they're seeing you in the way that they want to see you, not as you are. And commandment number 2. Analysis does not change the situation. Sorry, analyzing doesn't change the situation. We live in a world of pop psychology, TikTok, AI, ChatGPT conversations, self-help books. Like, everyone has something to say about everyone. We can diagnose every ex-boyfriend's trauma, every ex-boyfriend's attachment type, every person that wronged us, their childhood traumas, their not even childhood traumas, maybe something really traumatic that happened to them as an adult, and therefore this is why they respond this way. We are getting so good at putting labels on people, but but that doesn't change the situation. That doesn't change the situation that you are in, that you have found yourself again being accused of being the bad person, the villain, the person that fucked up, the person that ruined this, the person that's doing this bad thing. Just because you can label someone doesn't change it. It might bring validation. It might bring empowerment. It might bring connection. You know, when you're talking to your bestie and you're like, oh, fuck them. They did this and they did that. They're a bad person. It feels good. It feels great. I fucking love having a little, we call it human moments. I call my friend, I'm like, having a human moment. I need to tell you blah, 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 blah. That's great. Have a human moment, connect with your friend, but realize it doesn't change the situation or the message that's in it for you. Because if you can analyze the situation and go, well, you know what, this person is so avoidant. This person, you know, has all this childhood trauma that they've just never dealt with, and like blah, 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 blah. But then you end up seeing them in a real life scenario, or if you see them on social media and they trigger this like either freeze or flight response, that isn't solving anything. And how validating is that? If you, when they're not in your sphere, can say, you know, oh yeah, this, and this, but then they come into your sphere or your space and you're like, oh my God, I got to cross the road. I got to get away from them. It's not resolving the situation. It's just labeling it. Commandment number 3, understanding why does not make it easier. These next, commandment 2, commandment 3, commandment 4, kind of flow into each other, but there is a difference. Commandment number 3, understanding why does not make it easier. When explanation turns into justification, you start organizing your life around somebody else's capacity. Have you ever been in a situation, and this typically happens in long-term relationships or relationships with elders or seniors? So it might be a parent, it might be a lover, it might be a long-term friend, a boss or colleague. Maybe they were a mentor at one point, where you know that when you go into conversations with them, that you are usually having to practice the conversation. You generally know their responses, so you try and you sort of duck and weave with how they're going to show up, how they're going to respond. You're more aware of their emotions, their reactions, what time of the day is better to have a conversation, how to angle it around them. In that, if you're more focused on, like I said, understanding that situation, you have not once, and let this sink in, you have not once considered your own feelings in that scenario. You love them, they love you. It's a really important relationship. There's loyalty and love and connection. But eventually you find yourself constantly at the receiving end of the blame, the emotional punches, the shame, the guilt. you no longer feel safe to express yourself around them, regardless of how you word it, because it's going to get shut down and denied. So you just find yourself not saying anything because you know it's going to be met with criticism. A really cool example of this, I don't know if it's a cool example, but I'm just going to share this with you anyway. A couple of years ago, a long time ago, I found myself in a situation where I was in mediation with a family member, with a psychologist. And I don't know if anyone has ever been in mediation. It's like a tennis match. Person A, what do you have to say? Great. Person B, what did you hear in that? Amazing. What's your response? Person A, did you hear? Like it's this constant back and forth. The psychologist doesn't actually say anything. They just sort of mediate the situation, funnily enough, but they don't really intervene. So it's these two people having a conversation and just making sure the conversation is respectful and above board. But everyone's points are heard and responded to in a respectful manner. Now, we had a couple of sessions actually. We had this really beautiful moment where we could come together and talk, and while it was quite hostile going in, we actually left the sessions feeling really connected and heard. And within an hour of leaving these sessions, we got an email from party B basically saying, you have picked a biased psychologist, you're feeding them misinformation, you're having sessions without me, you're like basically doctoring the scenario to make it, manipulating the situation so that I'm getting what I want out of this. And there were 3 parties involved as well as a psychologist. And I remember saying to the other party, holy shit, was I in that session? Like what's happening here? But really the takeaway of this is like, you really cannot, as much as you can duck and weave and try and understand it, you cannot control the outcome. You cannot ultimately, if you don't feel like you have the right to say the things that are true to you, it doesn't make it any easier and it doesn't change the scenario. Commandment number 4, which leads into commandment number 4. If you are anticipating their next move, you are not anchored in yours. So commandment 3, we sort of spoke about the fact that, like if you're ducking and weaving and trying to understand and script the perfect way to say something, to deliver something to someone, you're not acknowledging your feelings. And commandment number 4 is taking that one step further in, you're not actually even acknowledging your own direction, who you are, where you want to go, because you're so focused on keeping them happy, them safe, making sure that they're interpreting everything correctly, that you get lost in your own message, in your own rhythm, in understanding where you're going with it. So what happens in this scenario is that, like I said, from commandment number 3, because you stop being able to express yourself, or you mute yourself, or you dilute yourself, you essentially also stop taking action in your life. And not only do you stop taking action in your life, you stop losing connection to who you are, the direction that you're going in life, and how you want to show up in that life, because you're so busy holding consideration for them. Now, them might be a person, a job, a family member. Them might be a number of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, a person. It could be a thing, like it could be a job as well. There's obviously moments in this that you need to be able to practice care and discernment. We're not walking in, this sort of comes back to the, you trying to be a dickhead versus the villain. There are obviously situations in which a bit of sensitivity needs to be practiced. But if you are someone who is so certain on who you are, your values, how you show up in relationships, how you show up in your life, and the direction you have, you will also be able to practice discernment in those discussions and in those relationships. Because you're not going to feel, I guess the difference in this is that you're not going to feel mute and you're not going to feel confused. You are going to be able to show up in these discussions with certainty, with clarity, and without feeling like, honestly, the best description I can have for all of this is that you've been rounds in a boxing ring. Like you are exhausted, mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted because you are so busy managing everyone else's emotions. Like I said, that you've stopped living your own life. So while yes, there are moments of discernment and care, there is a huge difference between being able to not anticipate their next move, be certain in yours, but to still take care for the situation. So remember, we're being the villain, but we're not being the dickhead. Number 5 is probably my favorite, is absolutely probably my favorite, because like I said, we talked about being human. We talked about these human moments where you call your girlfriend and you're like, fuck, I just need to bitch and whinge and moan for a second. But if you find yourself having the same conversation over and over and over again, if you find yourself crossing the street, blocking them on social media, you find yourself getting super fucking triggered whenever their name comes up, this is for you. Take a deep breath, but you do not get to call someone else the villain. You do not have the power to point the finger and go, fuck you. You are the bad person. You fucked this up. Firstly, if you think about the energy that comes from finger pointing and labeling someone that, you typically feel inflated. You feel rage running through your body. You feel like, empowered's not the right word, but like this sense of like force inside you. Congratulations. That's what it feels like to be on a moral high horse. Quite often when a villain shows up in our life, the villain is an invitation or a lesson. The villain is not actually a punishment. The villain is, as much as this is going to be really hard to wrap your head around, the villain is, the villain is not there to punish you. The villain is not there to make your life a living hell. The villain is not there to push you to the ground and make you gather an army of people to be like, fuck you, you're the bad person, you fuck this person's life up. Because I can guarantee that person is coming at it with the same energy. For in whatever lens they see life through, and we all see life through different lenses. We've all had different experiences. We've all had different lessons. We all have different beliefs, that ultimately you will both be met with like this like hostility. And that is not how we want to fucking live our life. But if you are also meeting the person with that energy and like, fuck you, you did this to me, sweetie, you're missing half of the like goodness. There is a universal principle that tells you for each and every response, there is an equal reaction. And so somewhere in that, like I said, there's a really, really beautiful message and lesson for you. And it is up to you. It is up to me. It is up to whoever is in the situation to either learn or work with someone or sit with someone or learn the skills and tools to be able to slowly unthread the situation to find what the silver lining is in there for you. You can be human. You can still bitch with your girlfriends. Fuck me, guys. I am single in my 30s and it's a wild time. It is such a wild time. It's great to be able to sit with your girlfriends and have a glass of wine and be like, oh my fucking God, you'll never believe what happened. Like, again, like I said, it brings connection. It brings validity. It brings, I don't even know. let's just roll with connection on that one. But it also shows the patterns that are continually showing up in your life. It shows the direction that you want to go. And if there is one thing that I know for certain, that there is so, as strong as you feel in that fuck you energy, what is on the other side of that? The love, the gratitude, the calmness, the inspiration is like tenfold more invigorating than you sitting in your fuck you power. I have seen people thank the villain in their life for some really horrific things. And they're not my stories to share. I have definitely dissolved my own mirror, I call them, in my life. And I am forever grateful that they showed up in my life. And I can tell you that it took me a long, 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 long time to get here, and it doesn't have to for you. I recently listened to a podcast with author Dan Brown. I don't know, you would have heard of Dan Brown. He's author of The Da Vinci Code. It's a great episode. I'll probably link it in the show notes because it's just a really, really cool episode about how he writes his books and the research, and how he was met with so much rejection before the Da Vinci Code was picked up and obviously became a huge viral sensation. But Dan Brown writes the villains in his story before he writes the hero, because, let this sink in, the villain shapes the hero. So what if we had a bit of both in us? What if we had a bit of both, hero and the villain? But you've got to know who your villain is so that you can shape your hero. How freaking cool is this? Oh. So we're going to wrap up on two final notes. As hard as the population try, we really want to see the positive. We want to see the love. We want to see the light. We want to see the gratitude. And we don't live in a one-sided world. We live in a two-sided world where we have both light and dark, good and bad, positive and negative, up versus down. And until we can learn to love and own both sides, we are going to be met with constant challenge, because we don't get what we want in life, we get what we ask for. So if you are someone who is wanting to feel better about themselves, you're going to be met with challenges that ask you to search for that. If you are someone that wants to feel happier, you are going to be put in situations where you are asked to dig for that. Have you, like a really good book on that is Viktor Frankl, A Man's Search for Meaning. We're talking about someone who was in the concentration camps during the Second World War and could find meaning in it. Like, I know that we live in this world that is full of comparison and shame and guilt and consumerism, but it is our job to move past all that and come back to who we are at our center and be able to express that lovingly and openly. And to do that, we need to be able to love both sides of ourselves. So on that note, is 2026 the year of the villain? Or is it the year that you really learn to love both sides of you and your role in the entire ecosystem that is your life? I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear your thoughts. So please shoot me a message. Until next time, team.